Okay. So before we do, let's check on our, do our prayer. Before we get started, let's do our regular prayers. So I'll ask you everyone to close your eyes, relax, and invite the good spirits, our protectors, the protector of this group, to be with us, stay with us. And as we gather here to learn from the spirit teachings, please, Lord, protect us. We ask you, please, to come beside us now, lead us in our study today, the days ahead of us, and through the time when our mind cannot cope. Help us to find peace and calming inner thoughts. You hold us safe, dear Jesus, and please do the same for this group, for our mentors here with us today, for our family members, our houses, our relatives, and all those crossing our minds right now, as well as those in need. And so be it.
Well.
All right, so as Debbie was talking about, so March the 27th will be the first meeting for the Mechanics of Mediumship group. And quick reminder for the ones that want to participate. So we'll be covering the module 1, and we'll be talking about those topics, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They are important, but we will try to focus on 3, 4, and 5. Instead of 3 hours, the meeting will be, we'll try to do that. We'll try to cover that in 2 hours. So the first one, I'll be the main facilitator, but evidently everybody, can participate. Luis will be with us. He cannot be here today with us, but Luis, Livia, Maria, everybody else will be here with us, and they will help us because they have a lot of knowledge to share as well. Then Jose will talk about spirit, matter, and fluids, and that evidently she will be the main facilitator, but again, lots of people helping here. Then we'll have a 10 minutes break, and then, the Q&A is not 10 minutes, it's 30 minutes. So 30 minutes for perispirit and vital fluid, and then 30 minutes for Q&A. And the Q&A can be questions for those topics over here, or any of those topics over here as well. So the reason why we'll be focusing on this number 3, 4, and 5 is because those over here, that will be, those can be covered on the topics to come. If you have the time to read those, excellent. If you don't freak out, just focus on these 3 and we should be good. Questions?
I think I've read all that.
Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy.
I think I already read it all, that part.
Okay. Yeah. So if you can read the rest of them, great. If you cannot read all of them, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. For today, I'd like to, I was reading something this week from the book of Genesis, and a thought crossed to my mind. When I think about the conflicts that we live today and all the troubles that we are facing now, I like to look to pictures from the astronauts, or groups that sometimes they don't mind about their nationalities, their religion, whatever, race, whatever. They just want to do something together. They have a big dream, they have a big purpose, they want to do something, they want to serve, or they want to work together and achieve something together. So, like I said, I like to see pictures of the astronauts and their mission and things that they do, all the experiences. And when I mention astronauts, it's just because, I am an engineer, they are engineers as well. I am a technician, they are technicians as well. And I know that engineers or technicians, scientists, they are not politics, they are not negotiators. They have a purpose, they have a dream, and they pursue those. And their dream is based on something for humanity, something they want to do, something for the generations to come. They want to do something big for a better future, and be part of the plan, leave their mark, leave a legacy. And again, like I said, does not matter nationality, does not matter race or religion, beliefs, through engineers with moral values. They have all the same focus. They want to do something, really big, something really nice for the ones to, for the next generation. So, oops, yeah. So that's and then when I was reading the book of Genesis, I was reading here, the chapter number 18, and the title is "The Time Has Arrived," and it covers about the new generation. Evidently, they're talking about regeneration of the humanity, and the spirits say the transformation is very simple, entirely a moral one, which is according to the laws of nature. And then item 33, they say the regeneration of humanity does not absolutely require the complete renewal of the spirits. Evidently, we cannot achieve this in a single incarnation, or few incarnations. It does require a lot of time. But they say that a modification in their moral disposition suffices. This modification takes place with all those who are predisposed to it when they shall have freed themselves from the pernicious influence of the world. So it does not require a whole lot. It does require some good effort from our part, just to free up from all this bad ideas about, oh, I do not agree with you, or, disagreements because of nationalities, because of, races, whatever, all the silly things that right now is just causing us to separate, the groups and be apart from each other. Anyway, this was something that I would like to share with you today. So last time we stopped by the question number 669, which covers about sacrifices. And the question was, the practice of offering human sacrifices dates back to antiquity. How could humankind ever think that God would appreciate this? And the answer was, first, they did not understand that God is the source of all goodness. Among primitive populations, matter outweighs the spirit. Due to the undeveloped state of their moral qualities, they surrendered to their animal instincts, and that is why they were generally so cruel to their instincts of brutality. Second, the humans of prehistoric periods naturally considered a living creature to be much more valuable in God's eyes than any material object. This led them to offer sacrifices to their gods, first animals and then humans, because they thought that the value of a sacrifice was proportionate to the significance of the victim. When purchasing a gift for someone, you choose something with a cost or worth that is proportionate to how much love, respect, or thought you would like to convey to the recipient. It was only natural for primitive human beings who were unaware of the nature of the supreme being to do the same. So the next one then is, what is the next one? Nope. Okay, I cannot see. Let me bring this over here.
Anna,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm later, but I
Okay.
want to talk about this question. It's possible.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
All right. Wait, let me see here. Wait a minute, please. Okay. About this question,
The 6069.
yes, let me see, 6069. Wait a minute, please, 6069. Oh, I'm in the wrong page, the book. Wait a minute, please. No, I'm wrong. I want
Okay.
to talk about the second one.
Oh, okay. So because the 669 has a letter A, another question, and the question is, did the sacrificing of animals precede that of human beings? The answer is very obvious, but this is the answer is there's no doubt about it. Any comment on that? Because I do have a comment as well. But before Maria say something, any comment from everyone? No?
I want to a little comment, to do a little comment.
Yes.
Because when we made the sacrifices in the past, many centuries ago, our faith is primary.
Primitive?
Primitive faith. And now, and nowadays, we need to development the how I can say in English, uma fé mais aprimorada.
Oh, we need to find means to develop a higher faith.
Yes.
Stronger.
In the past, we need to do something material. Now, we need to do the opposite of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to believe in the power of our attitudes, not attitudes that you do something material, but about what you can do to obtain what you need.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sacrificing is...
oh, I see what you mean. It's like a negotiation.
Yes, yes. All right. That's it.
You're just
Thank
negotiating. You. Yeah. My comment about this question is, this is so, I want to point to you guys how Kardec's mind is. This is so Kardec methods, because he was asking a question about the human sacrifice, and then he's asking the same question, but in a different way. And you have to picture how Kardec was doing this. Allan Kardec was not sitting in a meeting and asking the same question to the same group of spirits. The way that he was doing this, he was asking a question, and then he was kind of putting the question aside, and then later on, he was in a different meeting, other spirits, and coming back to the same questions, but in a different way, because he was cross-checking the information. He wanted to see consistency. He wanted to see those answers to be very much aligned. And as he was finding that the answers, they were persistently aligned and making sense together, then he was keeping those answers. So
No,
that's
no,
why
he didn't even send the questions around the world, just to totally different, and people that have the same culture or the same language, to see if they would come back the same alignment.
exactly. Yeah. Thank you for the comment, Josie, because that's exactly how it was. It was not just him in a circle, or right. So he had other people helping him as well.
Yeah, he has a very stricted methodology that he follows as a scientist, where it's not a personal opinion, it's not even the spirit personal opinion, but what it's close to the truth and what would really happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's worth mentioning at this point that the Wikipedia entry on Allan Kardec says that he prepared 1,000 questions and gave them to 10 different mediums. And those mediums he had personally inspected and discovered to be authentic mediums. So then the 1,000 questions were answered by all of these mediums. So he had 10 answers to every single question. And that's how he compiled his book of spirits.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
worth mentioning this because there's no double play going on here. He did not pretend to be psychic himself. Actually, he changed his name from a terrible name that I can't remember, Hippolyte, that's what it was, Hippolyte. So he wouldn't be confused with the science books he had already written.
Hippolyte Leon Revile.
That was actually his real name. Allan Kardec was the name
A
that
code
he made
name.
up. Yeah,
Was his previous incarnation.
yeah, it was a reincarnation that he had as a druid in old ancient France, right?
I think it was in Ireland, right? I think
what?
it was Ireland.
Ireland. Oh, yeah, maybe. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
But one thing that I'd like to say about him is that at first he didn't believe in reincarnation. So he didn't have this, because many people think that he had this previous idea of reincarnation, but he didn't. So when the spirits brought it up to him, and then he cross-checked and he checked again, and with all the facts that he had in hands, and then he said, oh, that makes sense. It answers so many questions. It answers even in the gospel, when Nicodemus asked Jesus about how to get into the kingdom of God, and he said that he needed to be born again, and then he started understanding the teachings of the spirits as a way to understand the gospel in a way that people before they didn't have the tools, the science tools to understand the gospel. So so it's not something that it was beforehand with him. He received it with an open-minded So the reincarnation was something that he received with an open mind, and he didn't have this belief before.
Yep, exactly. Thank you, Linda. Josie?
Now, just make a comment where sometimes here in the group, we talk about how the bubble was changed during these 2000 years, how things were taken away from the bubble, or things were interpreted differently according to some interests, right? And I think what's interesting, Allan Kardec came with the whole Spiritism as a way to show what is the close to the real, what really Jesus Christ mean when he says something. What really, what's the message, what's the real message that should come to us nowadays.
Thank you, Josie. Any other comment? Oh. Okay, so question letter B, according to this explanation, and he was very insistent, because the next question then, Allan Kardec was, according to this explanation, the practice of sacrificing human beings did not originate simply out of cruelty. Comments on this?
As far as I understand, that the sacrifices were really meant to please the gods, because they thought that this was it. I mean, they were offering the best, and as I said, from the Mayans, they offered human sacrifices. It was the most beautiful young girl and the boy. They were not, as in some places, the deformed and the sick. You had to be perfect, so that they were not, it wasn't cruelty, but they really thought that this was pleasing to their gods.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Heisen. Maria?
The spirits that lives on the earth, they always tried to use their attitudes in all areas of life for their own benefit. With regard of fate, it was no different. And in the case of sacrifices, we have a terrible example, which was the night of Saint Bartholomew, where for political reasons, a massacre of protesters was carried out. And in this event, many people that não eram, how I can say this kind of verb?
Weren't.
Okay, thank you. Weren't Protestants died because their enemies indicate them like a protesters, and they aren't. They die with a type of sacrifice in the name of faith.
Yeah, it's a misconception. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, no. Thank you, Maria. So the answer then is evidently, or not the answer, but the comment back to Allan Kardec was no, it originated from a false idea as to what would be pleasing to God, like Heisen said. For instance, look at the story of Abraham. In later times, humans have further corrupted this false idea by killing their enemies, like Maria was saying, the objects of their personal hostility. Exactly a good example of the San Bartholomew night when Protestants were killed. God has never carried out sacrifices of any kind, neither animals nor human beings. God would find no honor in the useless destruction of creation. Evidently, it is logic. If God created the creation, then why would he be pleased with the destruction of its creation? So it's a matter of logic. But anyway.
But don't people still offer sacrifices of animals?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. They still do. So number 670. Has God ever appreciated human sacrifices when offered with a sincere religious intention? Look, again, Kardec is asking the same question, it's just in a different way. So has God ever appreciated human sacrifices when offered with a sincere religious intentions? Heising.
Now, as far as I understand, in the Old Testament, God was saying, I do not want sacrifices of bulls or goats. Give me your heart.
Yeah. Yes. Very nice. Maria, thank you, Heisen. Maria?
Okay. This question would be the same to ask if how taking a life can be considered pious intention.
Pious intention, yeah.
No?
Yes. Of good intent. Say that again. Say that in Portuguese.
Como é, Ana?
Please say like how you understand that, like if you give a sacrifice, what's your intention, right? What's your heart is talking about that sacrifice? That's what is me and Maria.
No, I only want to do another question that is so crazy. The answer, the question, the situation to sacrifice a person is the same to ask how to taking a life can be considered pious intention. Pious intention.
Oh, pious intention. Yes.
Yes, it's so crazy. We can.
Yeah, it's a crazy
think
idea
about this.
Yeah.
Well, I say again that we say it's crazy, but you come up in a culture where that's the norm.
I know.
So it was not a personal thing. It was the norm.
Yeah.
This was a culture.
Yeah. The more we know, the more absurd is the idea, right? So that's a matter of knowledge, I guess. Leda?
That's why evolution is so important, right? Because back then, it's us back then. But back then, we only understood God as a being that would trade things. So he would trade the sacrifice for the blessings that he will give us. But now that we have evolved, we understand that God is so higher and he doesn't need any trade. He doesn't need, he's doing out of love. He created the world out of love. And now we can understand that because now we can love a little bit. So now we can understand that we could do something like that for our children, for the people we love. But back then we were so not evolved, and we couldn't have this idea. We didn't understand it in another way, but only trading things.
Yeah. Thank you, Leda. Thank you. Debbie?
It just seems like so much of the Bible was taken up by all this these laws about sacrifice. I mean, like in the Old Testament, who could do it and what order they should do everything, and it should be a perfect animal. And then in the New Testament, and it says that Jesus is, or at least however I've always heard interpreted, that he was the replacement for that animal sacrifice, and that's when he was crucified, and that's why they didn't have to do it anymore. It's just like, it takes up a lot of space in the Bible for not to have any basis in what God wanted. Seems strange.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. Len?
Yeah, this whole thing of which is meshed through all these various cultures into the Middle Ages too, where you've had the guilt, the punishment, sacrifice, pleasing God. Look at during the Middle Ages, it was very common to have self-flagellation, where they're whipping of the backs and everything, and it was all this guilt, punishment, sacrifice to please God, which was obviously folly. It was absurd, but it carried through even through many, many, many centuries past what the New Testament, the Bible, and everything for.
Until today, like Hyacinth was saying.
Yeah, self-flagellation was very common during the Middle Ages.
It still is, Len.
It still is
in
That's
some,
right.
in some cultures.
In some cultures, yeah, exactly. It's right. In the, if I'm not mistaken, in some of the Islam cultures, it actually is self-flagellation is a common practice, if I'm not mistaken.
It's also, I believe, in the Philippines, which is very Catholic.
Oh, really?
And remember, Len, what it was with this, the self, what is it called?
Flagellation, self-flagellation.
No, the mortification of the flesh.
Yes. So,
That's
it even carried through all these cultures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so Len, since you were the last one, would you please read the answer?
Okay. 670, has God ever appreciated human sacrifices when offered with a sincere religious intention? Never. But God always considers the intention that motivates any act. As primitive peoples were ignorant, they may have believed that they were performing a praiseworthy deed and sacrificing their fellow beings. In such a case, God would accept their intention, but not their act. The human race, in working on its own betterment, naturally came to recognize its error and loathe the idea of sacrifices, which never should have entered enlightened minds. I say enlightened because back then spirits were enveloped by the veil of matter, and their free will was enough to give them a flickering glimpse of their origin and destiny. Many among them already understood the evil they were committing intuitively, but they did it anyway for the gratification of their passions. Let me add something here too about the ignorance. What fuels ignorance is the illiteracy rate. They couldn't read or write. That was a very big thing. I mean, they could have told, look at the power that these religious leaders would wield on the people. I mean, the power was incredible. They could have told these people, you are the little people from the planet Neptune, and they would have believed it. I mean, it was just, it along with the ignorance, arrogance, and I'm sorry to say stupidity goes along with it, is they can't read or write. They weren't educated. So the religious leaders were considered, the power was incredible that these religious leaders had.
And again, against that, I guess that's one more reason for us to pursue education,
Exactly.
The more we learn.
But today's education, you need to have morality there, and there's very little of that today.
True.
Exactly. Very good point.
They are still killing people today.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Hyacinth,
a
let me
pillar.
ask you that. Can I ask you a question, Hyacinth, about the Philippines?
Oh
Don't
dear,
they
Len, excuse me, let me just correct something Hyacinth said there. She said there's very little morality today. Hyacinth, dear, morality today is better than it's ever been.
Sorry,
Laughter and love.
I do not agree.
Okay, well,
Morality,
then
while growing up, was far better than now. Now it's anything goes, anything goes.
Growing up was
You just don't
yesterday.
get caught. No, 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 no. I refuse that. Absolutely.
Okay, laughter and love outweigh tragedy and hurt by far in this world. Now, if you think that tragedy and pain outweigh laughter and love, then,
I didn't say that.
that's what you just said.
No,
Morality
no.
is nowhere.
No, I'm saying, look at
Okay.
the politicians. No, let me stop. I need to calm down. Let me
Yes.
stop. And I won't go further.
I will not get in between Hyacinth and Giles. That I will not do. I agree with Giles in that his laughter is nourishment for the soul and love is nourishment for the
Absolutely.
soul. But I wanted to ask,
Absolutely.
out of curiosity, Hyacinth, a question. Is it true you mentioned about the Philippines? Don't they do during Lent, or don't they do actually?
Exactly. It's
Don't they
with
do
Good
actual
Friday. It's
crucifixions?
with Good Friday.
They do. They actually still do that.
I think so.
Okay, that's what I read somewhere, that they actually did. Okay, I'm not going to get
Lynn,
in
what do they
between.
do? Lynn, what?
I
what
read
do-
that they actually do a simulation of a crucifixion on Good Friday in some cultures, very fanatical religious cultures in Catholic religion in the Philippines. That's what I read. And I know
Yes.
very little information about it. So
Yes.
I am correct on that.
They have their whips, which they are beating themselves on the back and
So-
walking
Oh,
through
yeah.
the streets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And it used to be a very old tradition. I remember when I was little kid, during the Lent period, I remember seeing people passing by very late at night and doing that, Catholic people,
Yes.
but evidently very old tradition. I don't think that is as common as it used to be anymore, but evidently there's still.
My understanding is that's their simulation of the whipping of Christ.
Yes.
Yes.
That's my
Exactly.
understanding. Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right.
And we were not supposed to see. I remember seeing that out of curiosity. I was looking at the little hole in the wall, in the door. And I remember my mom saying, "You're not supposed to see this, this is their practice. This is whatever they believe, is the right thing to do." But in reality, they were just immolating themselves.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Nice.
Okay, so 671. What should we think of religious wars? That's here it comes. It seems that the sentiment that induces a nation of fanatics to exterminate the greatest possible number of people who do not share their beliefs in order to please God comes from the same source as that which formerly led them to massacre their fellow beings as sacrifice. Any comment on that? Because this is not a question, it was just Kardec in a dialogue with the spirits. Maria.
If we look at the pretexts that are used as reasons for our wars, whether religious or not, we will find the purely human interests based on the search of power, supremacy, healthy, among others. These interests are characteristic of a humanity still with little expressive spiritual development. As far as the degree of spiritualization on earth is concerned, we are moving from a period of trials and atonements to a world of regeneration.
Mhm.
We are moving from the first childhood to second.
Mhm.
We are not even spiritual teenagers.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, what Maria was saying is that this has been just an excuse for materialistics to take
Yeah.
over other nations, other people, take over other people's or culture, wealth, and as far as spiritual development, we are not even teenagers. We are just babe stepping still. Josie.
I just want to remind ourselves that Earth, we're in a stage of torment and proof. That's the stage. If you think about Earth as a school, right? We are here in that stage where people majorly, unfortunately, had bad intentions. And most of the population, unfortunately, in that kind of level of school, still have all kind of selfishness. People kill each other, people, all these things happen. But that's where the stage we are now. And I just want to remind that as soon as this transition happens and we can go to the next stage, what they call regeneration, we have been talking about that for a long time now. I think the tendencies get better and better. But when a spirit needs to evolve in that kind of aspect, that's the where they come, one of the planets that they can come. So it's Earth. So, I mean, I'm just saying we should not expect everybody to be perfect and everything being in the right place right now. I don't know if it makes sense, but just
and it will not change like this just because we step into a world of regeneration. It's going to be all of a sudden.
No, it's going to take.
It's going to be very
thousands of years, but at least we are being the way there. And I'm not saying we should accept the haters, killing, rapes. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we are in a stage, unfortunately, where the spirits around us are still in that mentality sometimes.
This reminds me, once I watched a movie, I cannot recall the title of that movie, but I remember this scene that was very powerful and this stick in my mind. I remember when it was about Jesus' life, and then right before his crucifixion, and he wasn't out in the desert, and he was fasting, and then there was a temptation, and Hyacinth will know very well about that. There was a temptation, and I remember the dialogue that Jesus had with Satan. I guess that's how it was. And one of the temptations was Jesus was shown all the wars in the future because of him, in his name. And then the question to Jesus was, look what they are going to do in your name. Is that really what you want?
That I hadn't heard.
You didn't?
That
about
temptation,
the temptation?
No.
Well, it was a movie. I think it was.
That would have been a movie, but that was hit upon.
Yeah, it wasn't a movie, and I guess it was just whoever wrote the whole story, was kind of imagining what kind of temptation. And then I remember seeing this and I said, okay, so look, in the future, what those human beings that you say that you love, what they're going to do in your name. Is that really what you want? And I thought, oh, wow, that's a very good.
No, I think that's a very good point. Mm-hmm. Because people are killing in his name, thinking that this is what he wants.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he would be weeping because they just had not understood his message of peace and love.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was exactly the answer that that Jesus in the movie was saying. He was saying exactly that. He said, that's exactly why I need to set the pace. I need to set the example, because they need to understand what love is about. And
Yeah.
this is not what love is about.
Exactly.
Can I just add one more thing that came in my mind? God or universe, whatever you want to call, it's perfect, and it's not fair. It's the justice. So if we are here, each one of us, because we need to be here. I mean, nobody's here for a mistake, or so. Sometimes when you think about all the tragedy and unfortunately, like we see now, Russian war, it's horrible. But I still believe there is a reason for everything to happen. Not justifying, but just everything is in the way it should be.
Yeah, we all have a purpose. Even anything has a purpose, even a virus. Right? Maria.
We also, wait a minute, please. Yes, my microphone. We also have to consider the influence of spirits in our lives. In any question, Kardec asks if the spirits, in the spirit books, if the spirits influence our thought and our acts. And the answer was much more than you can imagine. Influence to such an extent that ordinarily they are the ones who direct you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in any war, we have both plans, the physical and spiritual plan, that wish the same thing.
Yep. Very good point. Yes. Very nice, Maria. Thank you. So, any more comment on this? Shall we read the message from spirits? Giles, can I volunteer you to read for us? This is too long and I'm kind of tired because I just cleaned my house. I'm exhausted.
All right, the top line is a little cut off. Can you pull it down a bit?
Can you read it?
Yes. What should we think of religious wars? It seems that the sentiment that induces a nation of fanatics to exterminate the greatest possible number of people who do not share their beliefs in order to please God comes from the same source as that which formerly led them to massacre their fellow beings as sacrifices. These wars are encouraged by wicked spirits, and the humans who wage them place themselves in direct opposition to God's will, which is
just a
all
sec.
that
This
human
is
beings-
exactly what Maria was talking about. Go ahead. Sorry.
which is that all human beings should love their brothers and sisters as they love themselves. All religions, or rather all people, worship the same God, regardless of the name they use. Why then would one attempt to exterminate the other simply because they believe in different religions or different formats of religion? Because one has not yet reached the same degree of enlightenment as that of the aggressor. People may be excused for not believing in the word of one who was animated by the Spirit of God and sent by God, especially since they have not seen him nor witnessed the divine acts. In any event, how can you honestly hope they would heed his message of peace when you try and force it upon them with violence? It is true that they need to be enlightened, and it is your duty to try to teach them Christ's doctrine. However, this must be done calmly and peacefully, not through violence. Consider that most of you do not believe in the communications we have had with some humans. How could you then expect strangers to believe your claims in regard to this fact if your acts contradict what you preach?
Comments?
Can we move on to the next one and maybe the one after that? Because I think we all know the answers to this fundamentalist mania.
662 is offering the fruits of earth more acceptable in God's eyes than sacrificing animals.
It's still the same idea of trading, right? I think God wants just our good actions, our good thoughts, our good
Our
caring
heart,
for
like
each
I
other.
say, yeah.
Our heart, yeah.
I don't know about offering to God, but I do know that in Bali, for example, they still have their processions and their offerings, and that is still very, very important to them. And you will find little bouquets of flowers on street corners and all of this. And so it's just their way of life. It may be, of course, for wanting good harvests and all of this, so they're offering all these things. But I mean, again, that is their culture.
Yeah, it's cultural stuff.
Very beautiful for tourists to see.
Yeah. So would you please read the answer, Hyacinth, please?
I have already answered your question by saying that God judges the intention behind an action. Of course, offering the fruits of the earth is more acceptable than the blood of victims. As we have told you, and always repeat, a prayer from the heart is 100-fold more pleasing to God than all the offerings you could possibly make. The intention is everything, while the fact is nothing.
It's a very nice answer, but you can tell that the spirit was kind of getting mad at Allan Kardec, asking the same question over and over and over. I have already told you.
There's a prayer. The sacrifices of God is it's a broken spirit. But it's again, it's what is in your heart that is important.
Yeah.
And that is what is just, and it doesn't matter what people say or do and how they are admired and everybody loves them. And if what is in their heart is what really matters.
Yeah.
And in the end, all of this will mean nothing.
Yeah. Without love in the heart.
Without what is in
praying.
the heart, is what do you have? What is your purpose in your heart?
Yeah. Agree. Maria, you raise your hand.
Wait a minute, let me see my microphone, okay? We always seek to negotiate with God, offering something material, deprivation of ours in exchange to spiritual interception, without thinking about sacrificing for changing some inappropriate attitude of ours. In the Gospel from Matthew 5:23 to 26, we can read, therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your offering there before the altar and go first, be reconciliated to your brother,
Exactly.
and then come and present your offering.
Exactly.
We need to understand that the change, the better offer we can do to God is our change life.
Our inner change, our
Yes, we interchange, yes. But
Yeah.
we think about the things that are outside of us, not inside.
Yep. Agree.
And something as Jesus said, you say you love God. How can you love God and hate your brother?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Very nice. Okay, so number 673, could this offering be made more pleasing to God by using them to assist those who are poor and lack the necessities of life? In that case, couldn't the sacrificing of animals be considered commendable when accomplished for a useful purpose have been more meritorious than an abused sacrifice that served not useful end or benefited only those who lacked for nothing? Is there not something truly virtuous in setting aside the fruits of all that God has given us for the poor? Comments? Could these offerings be made more pleasing to God by using them to assist those who are poor and lack the necessities of life?
Absolutely.
No comments? Everybody's quiet today. So the answer is God always blesses those who do good. To help the poor and those who are suffering is the best way to honor God. I do not mean to say that God disapproves of the ceremonies you use when you pray. However, a good deal of the money spent on these events can be better spent. God loves simplicity in all things. A person who attaches more importance to external matters than the heart is narrow-minded. How could God attach more importance to the form than to the sentiment motivating your actions? I guess everybody agrees with that. Is exactly what Maria and Hyacinth was saying. Okay, so with that, we finished the sacrifice, and now the law of worship. So now we are moving to law of labor. I love it. So the question is, necessity of labor, is the necessity of labor a law of nature? What do you think? No comment?
Well,
are we here for vacation, folks?
No. Well, I think one has to grow food, one has to build houses, one has to make clothes, one has to teach children.
Yeah.
Come on, Art, let's hear it. You haven't said
Art!
anything in a while.
Yes, I didn't see you were here.
And Antonio.
Antonio is quiet.
I think it's because we're sharing screen and I only have 5 people that I can see.
Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the whole purpose of this life in this corporeal form, is to teach us of the need for labor. Because if we went to the spirit world right away, labor over there is a little different story. I mean, you can exist without doing anything, considering labor. But we learned about the necessity for labor and to feed and clothe ourselves and others here on this, how many ever years we have to spend down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. We do, if I understood what you said once we transition to the spiritual world, we do work with a different type of work, right?
We can if we choose, but you can exist over there without any work at all.
They say that actually we do more work than over here, because by then you do not have a physical body, and as such you don't need to sleep. You don't, so you have all the time of the world to do something good. So it's a no, actually labor is a no stop role for us, I guess. It's and again, it's for our own purpose. The more it goes with our pace, how fast we want to learn and how fast we want to evolve. There are some spirits that they just, I heard of stories of folks working during their lives, and I'm not talking about, going to the office or doing I'm talking about helping other people and doing something good in terms of, attending other people's necessities. And I heard a story that as soon as they died and they transitioned to the spiritual world, they continue to do as much as, the same, but in a different way.
If you watch Astral City, you can see like how much they work in the colonies and the spiritual world. It's interesting.
As a matter of fact, I mentioned that I would send the email with the link for the movie, and I forgot about it. I'm gonna send the link. Maria.
Yes, about the work, Jesus said in John 5:77, and Jesus asked them, "My Father worked until now, and I work also, If God has always been working in Jesus too, we will probably work more and more as we evolve and become poor spirits. And the only thing that change is the type of work.
Yeah.
During the time is passing, we work less and physically and work more spiritually, but work made part of the universe. Mm-hmm. The planets work, all things in the universe works.
Yep. Thank you, Maria. Hi, Saint.
Yeah, to try the art about this laboring in the next life. Francis Banks, in the book on the Afterlife by Helen Greaves, talked just about this, that she had a cottage with a garden in the new life, and a gardener who had come over wanted to work in her garden, and he was doing the earth, the soil, and doing this. And you said he didn't understand that all he had to do was to think about it. He didn't need to do that. Just by thought, the roses would grow and bloom and whatever. So there you go, Art. No, you don't need to labor.
Yeah, over there you work, yeah, if it interests you, if you want to do it.
Yes.
It isn't,
Yeah.
it isn't that you have to put out so
Yeah.
much labor for
Right.
your food.
Right.
Yep. Hi, since you were the last one, would you please read the answer?
Is necessity a law of labor? Labor is necessity of labor a law of love? Labor is a law of nature and is proved by the fact that it is a necessity. Civilization requires humankind to perform a greater amount of labor because it increases the sum of their needs and pleasures.
It helps with our own development. So the next one then is 675. Should we understand labor to mean only occupation of material nature? There you go, Art.
No, that's labor. Labor can be physical or it can be mental, and which our labor over on the other side is probably going to be more mental than anything else, because you have to know how to think things if you're going to create a building. I'm thinking back into A Life in the World Unseen, where they talk about the group gathering to build a building. And everybody that's there has to know how to do it. You can't just slop it together, because it forms halfway and then they inspect it to see if everything's okay before they solidify it. So I think it's a lot more mental, and it's a lot more understanding and knowing how when we get over there.
Yeah, but let me add something in addition to mental. I think it comes from, like Hyacinth has been saying, it is about trying to find a good alignment between our mind and our hearts. Right, I guess. Josie?
Just another way to see this question. I think there is not only the material work, like to work to make money, but the work you can make to help other people, like a volunteer work, or the spiritual, when you go to the spiritual sections to help the spirits and give them support. Or if you think about Chico Xavier, he always worked normal full-time work. He finished at 6, 7 p.m. and then he go to the spiritual, and then he was going to write the books. And I think it's this little extra work.
Yeah, very nice. Same for Divaldo Franco and so many others, right? They were doing their regular work, and then during their free hours, they were doing so many other stuff. Leda?
In Astral City, the spirit that welcomes André Luiz to the Astral City, his name is Lysias. He says, we are happy here because we have work. So the happiness in the spiritual planes, that depends on whether you work or not. And this work is like Art said, it's mental. It's not just mental, but it's mostly mental. So study can be a work, like we're studying here together.
Yes.
And praying can be a work too. And helping people, it's a real science. And André Luiz, he learns this science of helping the others in the spiritual plane.
Okay. Leda, can I assign you a homework?
Yes. Okay.
Would you please next Saturday talk to us about laboring in the spiritual world? Like, okay. I'm gonna send a link to the group, to the movie Astral City, And if they had the chance to see, then it's going to be easier to understand what you have to share. So would you please do that for us?
Sure,
Talk
of
about
course.
laboring. Okay, thank
Can
you.
I suggest, since you make that, why we don't make this deal? Everybody watch Astro City, Leda do her presentation, and we discuss about the movie, maybe
Yeah.
do something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. 2 moments to talk about the movie. Antonio.
Yes, I wanted to say that my understanding is that on the other side, labor for service to others is what rules, and
Yes.
that spirits who are in the lower levels, they can go to higher levels by working in occupations to serve others. And so that's I don't know if that's shown in the movie or not, but
Yeah.
it is shown in the movie too. No.
Yes, yes. Have you seen the movie? I don't think so, right? Have you seen the movie? No, Astro City?
No, not yet.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Homework
That's exactly
for
what
the
the
whole
movie is
group.
about. Yeah.
But I read
My
about it.
husband too, I'm talking to him here.
That's exactly what the movie is about. It's very nice. I'm gonna say this. I'm not saying what the movie story, but the movie is a real case study of the passing of this doctor, very famous doctor in Brazil, is a scientist.
Mhm.
And he was a very known scientist, and then he passed away. And that's the moment when the movie starts. You know, it's talking about the transition, what happened to him after, you know, his passing, and how he adjusted to that new reality. And as he was adjusting to that new reality, then all these lessons is good for us to know about, because it can happen to anybody. Maria, please.
Yes. In the question, okay, on Earth, work is linked to the need to survive.
Mhm.
And another planet, it isn't, but here is. In the question 703, Kardec asks, to what end did God grant all living beings the instinct of conservation? The answer is because everyone has to compete for compliance of the designs of providence. Compliance?
Compliance.
Oh, thank you. Compliance of designs of providence. That's why God gave them the need to live, the need to live. And that life is necessary to the betterment of beings. Betterment, that's right?
Sure. Improvement.
Yes. They feel it intensively without realizing it. Then we need to think that we need to work because we need to be better spirits.
Yeah.
The work is the way we have to be better.
Yeah, it does allow us, or it does give us the opportunity to exercise a lot of things. Patience is one of them, I guess. So the answer is, so the question is, should we understand labor to mean only occupations of nature, of material nature? And the answer naturally is no. The spirit labors just like the body. Every sort of useful occupation is labor. Okay, guys, it's 4:17. I'm gonna stop today. So Leda, you have an assignment next Saturday. I need to send a link to the movie to everybody. And
Giles did that.
Huh?
Giles did that at the chat.
Oh, thank you, Giles. And I have a question for the ones participating in the meeting for the mediumship, mechanics of mediumship. Do you need me to send you an invite with the link? Because it's gonna be the same link that we are using today. But do you feel like you need to receive an invitation in your calendar? Because I can send that out. Just let me know.
And everybody was able to get the material. Anybody has any difficult, I mean, have some question, it's all free. You guys can download. If you guys want to send to a printer, it's fine. Okay.
Hi, Sing.
Anna, could you stop sharing screen? Let's see everybody again before we go away.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna stop recording.